and no, those are our marker words, right? So if I'm gonna give a reward or if I'm gonna give a correction, I'm always gonna mark the behavior that I'm rewarding or correcting before I give that reward or correction, right? And that does a couple of things, right? Let's say with a no marker, let's say this thing isn't in your hand, because it's not gonna be, right, all the time, right? And he's in a bed stay over there, and he breaks command, right? Because we use marker words to attach those rewards or consequences to behaviors, I could mark with no the second he breaks command, take my time, go all the way over here, get my remote, tap that button, then help him back into position, and he'll know that correction was for whatever he was doing when he heard no. Okay. Right? Yeah. So it buys you the latency to deliver that. So as long as the collar's on him, you're never gonna run into a situation where it's like, crap, there's nothing that I can do about it, you know?
So like, let's say we take him with us tomorrow, and then we go to a gym, and the gym owner has a dog himself who's really well behaved, but would you recommend not taking him to that place?
Again, it's not that it would be an issue, you know, like he's done pretty well anywhere we've taken him before and hasn't seemed overly distracted by things, was pretty controllable. The biggest thing you gotta factor in as you start doing more public stuff with him is the first couple of times, you gotta go into it with a mentality of this is like a training session, right? So if you're going there just trying to get your workout on and don't wanna have to really worry about what he's doing, it's probably not gonna be as productive as you want it to be, you know? At least not until you've had an opportunity to practice it a few times, you know? But if you want to go there and be like, all right, well, we'll do a little workout, but we're also going to work a downstay with him while he's there and stuff like that, that's fine, you know, and I don't have an issue with that. I have two clients I can think of in particular that go to like a CrossFit gym they could take dogs to and stuff, and same deal. They got a towel they take with them, put it down, place their dog onto it, and the dog just stays there while they do everything, you know? So it's very realistic you could do that. You just got to ask yourself, is that what you want to do tomorrow, right?
Right. Well, and it makes sense. I think it's something that we could achieve eventually.
Yeah.
I think everything you just said, we're almost going to do a pretend session.
Yeah.
100%.
We have access to the building, so we can show up on a random evening.
Yeah. The biggest thing is you got to train for certain pictures. Like if there's something I want to be able to do with my dogs, like go to a patio or a brewery or this or that, right? The first couple times I do that, I know I'm not going to, for my own enjoyment, I'm going to work with my dog. You know what I mean? So it's like a different state of mind you kind of have to be in when you're doing it. And it's normal, that contrast, you know, and that kind of highlights the issue, you know what I mean? We don't want that massive of a contrast. My presence shouldn't spark this completely uncontrollable arousal. Yes, I want my dog to be excited when they see me and stuff like that, but I want it to be this kind of like mutual respect, you know what I mean? Of like, you're excited and this is cool, but you still know there's boundaries, right? So it's interesting, you'll see over the course of the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, how that will start to shift and you'll start to see it get more even amongst all of us. Our general goal anytime we're working with behavioral issues is to make the exciting things just a little less exciting and the scary things or things that make them anxious a little less scary and anxious, so that you start existing in this like middle kind of balanced place, you know? So at home in the house, what were like your top problems you were seeing?
Well, we couldn't leave him.
Yep.
Not being able to leave him.
That was the biggest problem. When we would leave him and he was in a crate, he would get out of the crate, which I know we're gonna get out of the impact crate, but and then he'd be roaming in the house and getting into our cupboards and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's when he's in that heightened state is when everything became unsafe. Things you normally think are fine or suddenly are a danger to him or someone else.
Yep.
So I guess once we get the crate, which hopefully will be soon, how do we get him in safe?
Yep. So crating is much more straightforward than you think. I'll do a couple repetitions with this one just to show you. So at this point, he knows the crate command, right? And that's the important thing, right? He knows what to do on the crate command. So if he's not getting in, it's because he's choosing not to get into it, right? And it's normal that when you get that new crate, he's gonna choose to not get in because he's scared of it or whatever. We gotta work him through that. We gotta show him it's just a command, just like everything else, right? So first handful of times you do it, let's say you get the crate, whatever, in 2 days, right? You're gonna do it on a leash. You're gonna spend 5 minutes doing a training session with him, like once a day with it, and you're just gonna walk him up to it. Come on, bud. You're gonna tell him it's under crate. No? Crate. There we go. Okay? And this is the first step, obviously, is we have to get him realizing, Thunder, crate, that with you guys, getting into that crate is not optional, right? A lot of people make the mistake of when you have dogs with crate anxiety issues, okay? They'll like manhandle the dog into the crate and then just slam that door closed, and the dog never actually learns they have to do it, right? Crate, it just symbolizes like a restraint, right? You know, it's this big fight getting him into it, and then we lock him in, right? Okay, well right now we're showing him you're the one that's making the choice to do this. Okay. Go work, buddy. Okay, so first step is you have to get him understanding just the command of getting into the crate, obviously, right? Once you get past that initial fight that first day, you're gonna see that's gonna kind of be the point where you start getting in the clear, and he could start to then, you know, work through that obviously on his own a little bit. And then obviously keep in mind also, right, so as far as the crate that you guys got, the positive is once you have him at a place where he can get into it, like I said, he's not gonna injure himself in it, he won't be able to get out of it, so you're gonna find the first couple days of using it at home, he's probably gonna try to until he realizes that it's not working ultimately. And you'll see that will kind of kickstart that process of him kind of then being calm in it for you. So.
Would you limit how much he's in it at first?
Not necessarily. You know, a lot of times, you know, however long you need to have him be in the crate, you're just gonna kind of have him be in it. And it sounds like given the fact that you guys are home a lot and stuff like that, it's not gonna be super often. And another thing to keep in mind is if you're not leaving the house very often, sometimes it's really beneficial to find places for him to be in the crate just consistently, right? So let's say you only leave the house where he would need to be in the crate 3 times a week, something like that. Try to find a place literally once per day where you could put them in for 2 hours, you know? When you're home to work through things, because what you may find is that, Thunder, crate. Good. That was a little better that time, dude. What you'll find is, let's say you have him in there for 2 hours, right? And you're hanging out working or something like that. You might hear him start getting anxious in there and start maybe scratching at the door or something like that. You'll actually be able to correct him for it, right? So that he realizes when he's in it, there's still consequences for some of that kind of stuff, right? And then, you know, also depending on, it sounds like since you got the smaller size, you'll be able to keep the crate like in the actual house, obviously. Yeah. So what you can start doing is in place of you're gonna see one of your homework assignments is gonna be like a long bed stay once a day. You could actually, since he has this kind of contrast of like bed is just this chill thing, crate's this horrible thing, you could have this drill where instead of doing your long bed stay, you could just do a long crate stay with the door open like this. Until you start to see him go from this state of mind to the state of mind he's in on the bed. And it becomes a little bit more neutral, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So that way it doesn't always symbolize this like horrible thing. It's just a command, that's it, right? There's nothing, I know he has this like emotionally charged association with it being so much different than everything else. That starts to help shift that for him, right? And that's a lot of the reason why he got better with being confined and stuff here is because everything became kind of neutral, right? It didn't have this horrible association of every time we put you in it, we're leaving and all this kind of stuff, you know? So things like that will be productive as far as helping him work through that. And then as far as the drooling and stuff, because you're gonna see that initially, that first week you start crating him, you can put some towels in it or something. We did that with him and he wouldn't like shred them or anything, so it wasn't a big deal.
Because I think he put like puppy pads in it once, maybe.
Pads are hard, because like those are really easy to shred up, but like an old towel or something like that. Yeah. Something like that would be fine.
Yep.
Okay, come on, bud. Are you sure? That was so hard. So as far as the confining and leaving, once you get the crate, that's gonna be something I want you starting right away. And you know, like I said, it'll probably be a couple days till you get it. So once you do get it, shift like all of your attention to working drills like that in the crate with him. You know what I mean? And then you just like, I would say long-term, realistic expectations with behavior in the crate. What I mean by that, so my one dog, Vinny, right? He had horrendous crate anxiety issues when I got him. Like same deal, like to the point where like, if I was here and I had him in a crate here, like at the facility while I was doing lessons, like I couldn't because he was so disruptive in it, right? Screaming, freaking out, spinning, like all sorts of stuff like that, right? And I did do a lot of, over the course of the first year that I had him or so, working crate commands, working crate stays like that, working downs while he was in the crate. If I started noticing him getting himself worked up in it, correcting him for it to interrupt that state of mind and stuff. And he's at a point now where he is extremely manageable, right? We had a 4th of July party yesterday. We had all the dogs in their crates and he was fine. He just chilled in there, right? And it was cool and it was no big deal. And we could leave the house and he's fine. And he's just in a standard wire one at this point. Like he doesn't break out of it or anything like that, right? But he still doesn't love the crate. You know what I mean?
Choose to.
Yeah. It's not like it's like, oh my God, I'm so excited to go to my crate, right? It's just one of those things where he's learned that it's not that horrible, right? And still to this day, like if I go, let's say a month just using the crate and never having the e-collar on while he's in the crate or anything like that, he'll start slowly cycling back to displaying anxious behaviors. And then I, work a couple commands with him again, or I correct it a couple times again, and it's fine. You know what I mean? And it's highly manageable. But I think some people, when they deal with crate anxiety dogs, they look for the perfection with it to the point where it's just like he loves it and he wants to go in it and he's just sleeping the whole time in it and perfectly fine and stuff like that. And just per everything we've talked about so far, you guys seem like you have very good heads on your shoulder as far as stuff like that. But I like to remind everybody that as far as perfection isn't the goal. We just want to get him to a place where we can confine him safely and not have it be too much of a nuisance so that we don't have to feel like we're trapped in our house. You know what I mean? So that's a big goal with it. And that's why I'm glad you guys got the good crate, because it really, like, let's say he is like throwing a fit in there or something like that, nothing's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna be fine. And he's gonna learn that it doesn't work and it's gonna be okay ultimately. So. Yeah.
But he's been pretty good.
Good.
Aside from that.
Any big issues you've run into in the last 2 weeks?
Nope, he was around kids this week. Last weekend he did good with that.
Yep.
Got a little territorial over food. He was around a lot of dogs.
Towards the other dogs?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you say he got territorial over food, do you mean that there was literally dog food on the ground, or?
There was a treat.
I understand.
And the big dogs obviously eat it way quicker.
Yes.
Than he has his. And then.
I mean, obviously, generally, again, unless it's like dogs living in the same house, I don't do treats and stuff altogether. So understandable.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, again, I don't recommend doing it, but if you're gonna do it, the key is you have to proactively set those boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So Miso shouldn't hit a point where Miso feels like the other dog is gonna take it from him, right? Because we're appropriately setting that boundary. Like if I'm the other dog, right? I'm not gonna let the other dog get all the way to here, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna step in when the other dog gets to here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then Miso starts realizing, I'm getting stressed out, he's coming up to me, but then I step in, hey, leave him alone, right?
Yeah.
He's chewing his toy, whatever. And then what you'll start seeing is that bubble will shrink, where he'll get more and more tolerant of the dog being closer and closer as long as they're not taking it, and he'll start looking to us to handle that situation, right?
Yeah.
So that's the key with it.
Okay.
In the case of that, just passing
Even
that dog you're talking? Yeah. Yep.
Hard to tell.
Well, the thing is, right, so we've kind of set the tone of the walk already. We've already given a couple of higher corrections for just getting out of position. So you can tell just his overall state of mind right now is a little bit chiller. And that's kind of the key with this, is before we see the dog, right, we kind of get the behavior under control so he doesn't feel like he needs to do that. And that, again, 9 out of 10 times really is your solution for things. more firm about the little mistakes to avoid the bigger mistakes in the first place. Fireworks are interesting because, you know, yes, it's something that some dogs get like irrationally like really scared of, but I think one of the deciding factors between if it'll turn into a serious problem or if it won't turn into a serious problem is our allowance of the behavior. You know what I mean? Because it's not so much the anxiety that's the issue, it's the fact that they get anxious and then they start like displaying like destructive behaviors or these like uncontrollably anxious behaviors and stuff, you know, and they kind of basically spend the whole night like burrowing themselves into a hole somewhere where we just like can't get them out if we need to and stuff. Where, you know, I'm not saying that I'm not gonna allow my dog, if they are a little uncomfortable about something, to like go somewhere where they feel safe and stuff, but I need to make sure I still have control over them in that moment.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's where most people fail, is they have no control over the dog when they get into that state of mind.
Yeah,
you know? So I look at that as like, you know, if we want to actually get past the issue, which most people do, you have to look at it like a training exercise, right? Okay, this massive distraction is going on right now, you know, and yes, my dog is really scared of this massive distraction. No different than Miso was really scared of dogs on the walk or people on the walk and this and that. It's an emotionally charged response to that thing, right? And I'm going to work them through it. I'm going to get them to focus on something else to help them start the process of desensitizing themselves to it, right?
Yeah.
So I'll look at that as an opportunity to let's work some bed stays, let's work some sit stays, let's work some come commands, and I follow the same protocol as I would follow with literally anything else, which is my dog has to either want the reward more than they care about the distraction, or want to avoid the correction more than they want to, you know, focus on the distraction, right?
Yeah.
And in so many cases, I just see that these dogs get past it so quickly as we kind of hold them to that standard. And it's counterintuitive. Like everybody always thinks, oh, well, they're scared. You're gonna, you know, why would you, you know, use corrections or this or that when they're scared? And it's like, it's an irrational fear though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing scary is actually happening.
So like next time I could work on like bed stays.
I would, yeah, and then yeah, just be aware of if you're gonna hold them to the standard of doing a bed stay, you're probably gonna find the first couple times you do it, your level's gonna have to be pretty high, you know. But after those first couple of times that you kind of fight through it like that, you'll see how much better he'll get, how like super quickly, you know. She looks great. I mean, I think we've moved some mountains with this little thing.
Yeah, man.
She's made some strides, that's for sure, you know. You know, she's still got some work to do, obviously, but you know, she's got all the tools at her disposal at this point, and I think that all of the immediate issues that we were having, we've come up with pretty good solutions for. You know, I mean, from where she came in to now, I mean, I'm so impressed with how far she's come as far as just like her general confidence with working through things and all that kind of stuff has been really great. I think that the biggest things that I'd like to see you continue improving on, the nails, obviously she looks 9 gazillion times better than she did with them, but still could use a little bit more with it. So keep working with that, obviously. Additionally, the recall stuff, I would like to see you guys just put a little bit more emphasis on like training sessions of just that in specific locations, you know? And you'll probably see it look like it looked like with me, right? Where 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I was basically like reeling her in every single repetition and couldn't get her to like really focus in very well. Where now she's pretty engaged and motivated with it, you know, and the fact that she already likes you guys helps, obviously, and we'll continue to get that better. We just got to get her doing that with the rest of the family a little bit better, and then isolating those problematic areas, right? So as you're going through the next month, 2 months, 3 months, and she's getting older and stuff, if you start noticing that your compliance in a certain area is kind of dipping, just put a lot of emphasis on, okay, cool, we're going to spend 5 days working on just that thing, you know? And that's long-term kind of the key to success with training, is not dedicating all this time every day forever and ever into training. Like, I don't do sessions with my dogs that much anymore. But if I notice there's a problem, I will make sure immediately I come up with a temporary solution for that to get past it, you know? That way I don't let things become these like long-term habits, right, that they develop that are something that I don't want them to do, you know? And, you know, with that command stuff, since you have a little bit of work to do with it still, work on it for the next 3-4 weeks. Give me an update, you know, and then if for whatever reason you're still having a hard time with it, like I said, I'll get you back in for another session and we'll make sure we iron those things out. But I think she's going to be fine with it if you can dedicate just like a week or two of practice into it.
Yeah, cool.
What do you think? You have any questions about anything at all that I can answer for you?
No, I've been asking questions as I go, so.
Yeah. I would say, you know,
I'm really happy with it. I mean, she seems like a happier dog. So.
I think so too. You know, I think we've put in place with her, you know, the necessary things. You know, again, this isn't a competition dog. It's a 6-pound little Chihuahua that's living in your house, right? She just needs to not be pissing all over the house, and she needs to not bite anybody, and she needs to listen when you ask her to, right? So, you know, past that, you know, you got to just be able to just enjoy her, obviously. So I would say I'm very loose about follow-up support and stuff. So if you run into any problems, just let me know, you know, and we'll get you in, get those things worked out as we need to. But I think she looks really good. I can't complain right now. So.
That was great.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I'll pass the torch here. If you need anything at all, like I said, just reach out. You know how to get a hold of me.
Will do.
Through training, having better communication overall and stuff like that helps to alleviate almost all of those problems. It's interesting, like when we work with dogs like him, as we just teach them to focus better, like we almost never need to actually go in and address that specific problem itself, you know? So that's positive, obviously. When did you start noticing a lot of those behavioral issues? Obviously, you said he's 6 months now. Just early on, just always been hyper and stuff, and okay.
He was in the personality assessment of the litter. He was the one that said, gonna need a firm hand. And he does. He's
a tough cookie. All right, fair enough. Any issues with housebreaking, crate training, anything like that?
No, it's good and it's great.
We just got a bigger one for him.
Cool.
And
pretty much done with accidents. I mean, once in a while, but
more on our fault.
That's normal. You know, 6 months old, you're still going to have one here and there. You know, that's okay. Cool. And you said with other dogs, he plays with the neighbor dog. He's pretty good with the neighbor dog. Does he have many other dogs he'll be like off leash playing with?
He kind of will like go up and greet them, but then he starts barking and they start barking and then he gets scared. And we'll go.
And in that setting you're describing, is that like you're on a walk, he's on a leash, he's greeting another dog, or is that like they're off leash in an area kind of thing?
It had been both. Okay. And really since then, we've kind of stopped meeting other dogs. Just to try to wait until we got further guidance and figure out what worked best.
But I've never felt like he's really aggressive, but he gets antsy for sure.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, so a lot of times, first and foremost, one thing, like I want him to be able to interact and play with other dogs. Obviously, that's important. Socialization is important. I think where a lot of people go wrong when they have young dogs is they try to do too much socialization like inappropriately, right? So what I mean by that is one of the #1 places people try to socialize their dog is out on the walk, right? We see another dog, hey, can my dog say hi? Yeah, sure, they go meet. And what happens is the second one of them starts barking at the other or whatever, what happens? Both people pull them away. Right? They're getting dragged away from this other dog constantly, right? And all that does is build up the frustration, and it doesn't allow them to ever socialize in a way that like nature intends for them to socialize, which is rambunctious, running, playing, wrestling, things like that. You know what I mean? So one of the first things I have everybody do, regardless of if you're having reactivity issues or not, see you hunting for snacks in there? Is eliminate all on-leash greetings, right? Both with dogs as well as people. I don't allow on-leash greetings with people as well. And that single thing, when you implement it, you'll start to realize over the course of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, just his demeanor on the walk. his demeanor on the walk is going to start to completely change to the point where he's going to stop like getting so amped up when he sees the other dogs, and he's going to start seeing them a little bit more as furniture. Like, I'm not getting anything, they're not interacting with me, I'm not interacting with them, there's nothing to get all worked up about. And then tap onto that with the training and being able to give better direction and stuff, you're going to see a total shift. So, and then, like I said, try to find places where you can do true off-leash socialization. You know what I mean? Like, we have a confined area, you got a dog, I got a dog, let the leashes go, just let them do their thing. You know what I mean? And if you do see some barking or this or that, that's normal. You know what I mean? Like, that's normal dog interaction. You know, if he looks like he's kind of bullying the other dog a little bit or something like that, try to not sweat that kind of stuff too much and let him kind of learn how to properly interact. And as you stack those wins of like, this social went really good, this social went really good, this social went really good, and you eliminate all the bad socialization, you start to see him finally move on like a trajectory of like, we're getting somewhere, you know? So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna start off with just some basic leash communication. We're kind of getting a feel for how he responds to stuff, you know, how he focuses in this type of setting and everything. So I'll take the leash from you here. I'm gonna get him fitted up here with a training collar, and we'll start jumping right into some things. Hey buddy, is he pretty good with new people and stuff typically?
With new people?
Yeah.
Yeah, mix, but treats
Yeah.
is the way to his heart.
He's just shy.
Shy.
Like, he kind of backs
I could see he seems a little hesitant. Yeah.
behind us, but
Hi, bud. People socialization is another one. I think, you know, especially when you got like an adorable, like fluffy dog like him, like everybody wants to come up and pet them, you know? And you figure if he is a little bit temperamental with things, having people constantly just invading his space over and over again before he's ready for it, that sets him on, same deal, a path to like really start like not trusting that you guys are gonna handle those situations and becoming just overall not trusting of new people, you know? So I try to say, same deal, eliminating the on-leash greetings helps because, you know, on-leash, if he's stressed by somebody, he can't get away. So that's gonna make him more likely to start reacting. And then in the home, just trying to get your guests, just give them a minute before they start like smothering them with affection and stuff, and let him kind of work at his pace. You know, there's a reason why I haven't really interacted with him so far, and I'm giving him a chance to just kind of get used to me. I know. Before I go to do anything too crazy, you know. All right, so what we're gonna do in a second here, so we're gonna start introducing this collar. So really straightforward, basically the concept we're trying to teach him is that when you feel this pressure, it's not this like restraint to dig into to get towards things, it's something that's giving you direction, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start walking him around randomly here. As he gets distracted and tries to go off towards whatever it may be, I'm gonna stop, apply steady pressure in my direction like that, and the second that he turns with that pressure, I'm gonna be relieving it on my end, right? So I'm teaching him when you feel this pressure, moving with it is what turns it off. Right? From there, once he starts doing well with it, I'll start adding some rewards in, kind of shaping some of our commands and going from there. All right, big man. Okay, there we go. There we go. And this is all going to be nonverbal initially, just teaching him through the leash. All right, so as he's doing better with this, I'm shortening that leash up just a little bit. We're starting to shape a little bit more of like a formal heel position here. Come on. I see him trying to go for that leash. It's like, give me that thing. Come on. Good. As we're doing this, a couple things to pay attention to. One, we want to make sure that we're staying as loose as possible on this leash unless we're trying to get him to do something. So you'll notice as I'm walking, there's no tension on that collar unless I'm trying to communicate something to him. Where I see a lot of people, they'll hold it super short and have constant tension on that leash, and then he's not actually learning anything from it. So I'm staying loose, obviously. And then if I do need to communicate, again, just little bits of pressure, getting him in my direction, then going loose again. We hear you. Come on. Any reactivity and stuff we're seeing at this point, I'm just gonna treat it like a distraction, so I'm gonna do it exactly the same, just like that. See how I went in that direction? Use that leash to pop him towards me like that, right? Same deal. Little direction towards me. Good job, bud. Good job, buddy. Come on. Good. And obviously he's kind of jumping right into the distractions and stuff here, and he's doing frankly pretty well with it, all things considered. Any little bits of focus in that direction, just refocusing him back in on me like that. Good job, bud. There we go. Good job, buddy. All right, so since he's starting to do pretty well with this, we're gonna start adding a reward in if he does it correctly. So what I'm doing is I'm moving towards the distraction here, turning, good. And then once he starts coming with me, if it takes minimal pressure, I'm gonna mark with good, give my reward for that. Same deal, changing direction, good. And then rewarding, good job. Do a couple more of those here. Can't get back to mom and dad yet. There we go. Same deal. Good. Good. Do a couple more of those here. There you go, bud.
If we were passing another dog?
Yeah, kind of. You know, right now, realistic expectations with all that kind of stuff, obviously. You know, we're gonna get into working that stuff specifically, but right now I don't have crazy expectations. For right now, if you see other dogs, I would try to work at a distance, kind of like this, and go ahead and put them in a sit. And then reward him. And then a lot of times what I'll like to do initially is put him in a stationary command like this, and there's a dog there, he knows there's a dog there, now reward him again, because he's giving you great attention, right? And what I'll try to do is I'll try to maintain focus. So he's looking at the dog, which is fine. Now if he looks back at you, mark with good and reward. There you go. And you start to, again, shift that attention back towards you and reduce some of that arousal a little bit, and that's gonna be a lot more productive than what you were doing before of just holding him back, right? It's not gonna build as much drive. So why don't you go about up to that white car right there, put him into a sit, and see if you can get him to maintain that sit around the dog. So try your sit, mark with good, perfect. And then get him back in, perfect. And again, him looking is fine. Wait till he checks back in with you. Perfect. Again, little things like that will start at least getting you in the right place. Now, one more thing. Let me see your leash real quick here. So I could tell when he starts kind of getting all spazzed out, you kind of start, you know, like not focusing in as much on what it is that you're doing, obviously, and you let him start kind of dragging you around a little. And I understand he's strong, obviously, and there's, you know, physical limitations with things, but I'm pretty confident that if you got a good grip on that leash, if you really plant yourself, he's not going to be able to get you moving anymore, right? Okay. So I want you to really start fighting that kind of thing that he does of like, I really see this thing over here and I want to get to it or whatever, and I'm just going to drag you over to it. If in that moment you feel like you're losing control over him, just stop, plant yourself, and just get him focused back in on you, whether it's through a sit or whether it's just through you grounding yourself and holding firm on that leash, right? Okay. And things like that will help you a little bit as well. So let's do this. One more time, I want to see you walk up and down, but this time I want you walking at a nice controlled pace, and if he tries to dart ahead of you, you're going to stop him with that leash, okay, right? So don't let him cross like this line right here.
Okay. Okay.
There you go. And slow your pace down, slow your pace down. Kind of notice like when he starts getting faster, you start speeding up almost to like catch up with him. And I want you forcing him to slow to your pace with this. So sometimes, even if you're a fast walker, sometimes it can be beneficial to just force yourself to go at a super, super, super slow pace. That way you could get him focused in even better. Let's try that one more time here. Same deal, nice slow pace as you go down that way, and keep him nice and focused on you. That looks much better. You guys ever watch like the Dog Whisperer, like any of those shows, right? He talks about like calm, assertive energy, right? And like purposeful walk and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of truth to that in the way of like right there when he started freaking out, the purposeful walk was no longer there, right? You kind of let him kind of, you know, go around and stuff like that. So you want to stay really focused and centered with what it is that you're doing so that he could have something clear to pay attention to. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you'll start noticing just by doing some changes like that, that will help you a lot just with your walking.
Okay.
So the pop as opposed to constant pressure is probably the biggest thing for us to work on.
That's the biggest thing. You know, right now I just want you focused on shaping some of your commands and starting to teach him what it is that training is. You know what I mean? Because that's a lot of it. It's not so much that we're shooting for the moon and expecting these crazy results or anything, but we need to start teaching some routines of what it is that we're ultimately going to be asking him to do. And I usually recommend, you know, starting in a low distracting environment, you know, inside obviously initially, things like that. But then when you're outside, when you are walking with him, fighting that urge to have constant pressure. If you're sitting with him and he's getting all anxious and stuff like that, you got something you can keep him focused on, which is that sit right there, and start to shape those habits as well. And you're going to notice it's kind of one of those things where like it gets worse before it gets better. You see he's getting anxious right now because he's used to, in this type of setting, wandering and checking things out and stuff like that. Now we're telling him, hey dude, you can't do that right now, right? So it's kind of like a little bit of like a tantrum that they'll throw as you get that. And you got to just let him work through it, you know, and again, not try to correct him for it or anything, but just focus on our expectation right now is sit. You could sit and whine and bark, I don't care, but you gotta stay sitting, right? Yeah. And if you notice he turns and starts biting at that leash or anything, you could give him a pop on the leash for that. So you wanna start discouraging that behavior as well, right? And then obviously taking treats on the walk, using opportunities where you see other dogs, create distance, work your sit, keep the attention on you, right? And again, it's not gonna be beautiful, it's not gonna be perfect just yet here. We'll get there though. So, last thing, if you do feel like you're like losing control of him or anything, whatever you do, try to avoid the like choking down all the way to the collar and grabbing him. I would rather you just hold that leash firm like how you're holding it right now and just let him act up within the realms of that leash than that, because at least that won't make it any worse where the constant like literally physically holding him back, that's going to continue amplifying that behavior, right?